Hello everyone, welcome to final project presentation for CSE 564 visualization course of spring 2021 in Stony Brook University. I, Tanishq Mehra, along with Karan Dipesh Gada, will be presenting to you the dashboard on US gun violence. Gun violence has become a grim reality in the US, and over the years, we have seen the cases increase drastically. Even in the pandemic, the cases kept on increasing, and we have reports of such incidents occurring every minute. So we decided, why not make a dashboard out of it and try to gather insights, which we probably would not have known had this dashboard not existed. So what we will do is, in this video, we will focus on the interactions first. We will see what all features we have on the dashboard, and then we will move on to what amazing insights we could come up with after this dashboard was created. So getting started with it, at the top, you will see a time range, which specifies the period for which the data we have collected and processed. You can see it is from January 2014 to March 2018. And basis the selection, the entire dashboard's data gets updated. In the first chart of the dashboard, you would see the categories. The selection basis which you will see the data on the different other charts get updated. In this case, the default selection is total incidents, which already gives you an idea that there were around 240,000 cases over the period of 4 years, specifically 3 years, 3 months. And it should already be a bit concerning to know that there were these many cases in just this short span. Then, basis the selection, the charts get updated. In this case, we have the sections for lives lost, people injured, and finally the weapons count. So we will focus on the interactions first, and then maybe go around the insights, which Karan will be handling. On the second chart, you will see the US choropleth map, where you will see the states which have the high density of the selection that you make in the categories. In this case, it is pretty clear to see that the major incidents in the country over the specified time period has been in Illinois, California, and Texas, with a good amount in Florida, New York, Pennsylvania, and towards the east side of the country. Then to the right of that chart, we have a top 10 cities bar chart, which will be filtered basis the selection you make on the US map. In case there is no selection on US map, you will be seeing the top 10 cities for the entire US. So in this case, it's a good thing to note that our selection is total incidents. So the count that you will see on the bar chart will be the top cities versus the total incidents. If I were to change that to lives lost, the count would be updated accordingly. So let's look at the interaction on the US map. In this case, if I select Texas, you would see the appropriate updates being made on the chart and the data getting updated throughout the dashboard. In this case, you would see that the top cities in Texas are Houston, San Antonio, Dallas, and accordingly, the list gets updated. Now, you also have the option to make selections on the city. In this case, if I wanted to get insights on the city itself, you can make that selection and the rest of the dashboards would get updated accordingly. Then we have another bar line chart, which will focus on the loss that existed for that particular selections that you made and how is the particular metric in the categories, in this case, lives lost, is faring for that selection. Let me put it very simply for you. If there were no selection, you would just be working on the entire US map. And in this case, since we are working on lives lost, we would see how the laws are there for gun violence and how many unfortunate lives we have lost over the years. So a very good insight that we can see just from the chart itself is that in 2014, we had around 1,320 laws to curb gun violence. And that laws have just increased up to 2018 with 1,406 laws in total being there. But do we really see a fall in the lives that we lost in the country? Really no. A good question that would come to your mind is, oh, maybe 2018 sees a dip in the number of lives lost. But that isn't exactly the case. Remember, our data is till March 2018 itself. So the metric that you see for 2018, it's just for the first 3 months of the year. And it's already concerning to know that there were around 3,500 lives that were lost in just the first 3 months of the year just due to gun violence. To make this visualization more meaningful, allow me to reduce the time period to December 2017. So we will be overall focusing on the range from 2014 to 2017. In this case, we will move on to the next chart and we will look at the violence characteristics. When we were processing the data, we found that all of our majority of the US gun violence records were falling into 6 main quadrants, specifically gang involvement, drug involvement, suicide, mass shooting, house party, and bar club incidents. So we decided to make a radar chart for it and give the appropriate value estimations for the age groups where minors were involved and only adults were the perpetrators. By minors involved, we do not intend to say that minors were the ones who caused the gun violence in the first place. What we are trying to emphasize on is that minors got dragged into those gun violences because of some other party which were causing the gun violence in the first place. And this should be a very concerning fact to know, because we can see that the minors were already involved in a lot of gang-related violences which happened in the country. More insights to follow when Karan takes over. And the final chart we have is the gun types, where we see a lot of different types of guns and its appropriate metric as to how much that gun was prevalent in the country or on any selection that you make. So that is it from my end. These are the interactions that exist. I will hand over the mic to Karan, who will give you some amazing insights.
Okay, thank you, Tanishq. So let's get to the insights. So our very first insight would be how about the total incidents. So when we see at the map of US, we find that the total number of incidents were maximum in California, Texas, and Illinois being the highest contributor. So our natural thinking would be that, okay, Illinois would have lost a lot number of lives. Let's see if that's the case. Okay, that's not the case. That's really not the case when you see at this map. Even though there are a lot number of incidents in Illinois, we find that the maximum lives lost are in California, followed by Texas. Although the total number of incidents were highest in Illinois, the lives lost were comparatively less. Our second insight is that while seeing at the total number of incidents, we find that Illinois has the highest number of gun violence. So yeah, it's the worst hit state in the US. However, when we zoom deep into the state of Illinois, we found that only Chicago is the city that's hit with gun violences, is affected with gun violences in the entire Illinois. It's almost like 5 times more than the second highest city in the entire Illinois. It's another interesting insight is that not in the entire Illinois, but in the entire US, Chicago has the highest number of incidents. It's almost twice more than the second highest city in the US, which is Baltimore. We come on to the insights for the characteristics of gun violence. While we look at the entire US, the characteristics of gun violence were majorly inclined towards gang involvement and drug involvement, and mass shooting is gaining some ground. In fact, there are large number of cases these days. We always keep on hearing about mass shooting in some supermarket or in some public place. So like in a couple of days, there have been a lot number of cases. So another inference about the characteristics would be when you come to the West Coast, you find that the major gun violence have a gang involvement, while when we come back to the South, we find that there's more of drug involvement and a lot number of suicides when it comes to gun violence. If we look onto a particular county like Houston, we find that there's a large number of mass shooting happening. So Houston has a large number of mass shootings when it comes to gun violence. Our final inference would be the gun types. So when you look at this gun types, there are large different types of guns, ranging from handguns, rifles, shotguns. Our first question would be, why are which of these guns are really useful for defensive purpose? Obviously, rifles, which are heavy magazine guns, are really not required for defensive purpose. So how are these guns available? Are they really available legally to public or no? So these are a lot. Along with this, there are a large number of concerning questions that have been an outcome of our dashboard. We have a large number of insights other than this that we can keep on finding while we play with our dashboard. But with the restricted time, this is what I can provide. Thank you.
Thank you.